All right. Hello, folks, and welcome to Christian Sports Bar. This is Season 1, Episode 1, and we are a branch-off series from the Beefy Bois. Of course, that's going to be the main podcast. This one's just a little side hustle for you sports fanatics. So what I have here today is I've got a good... we're going to be talking about a little bit of preseason. We're not really going to be getting into the Huskies that much, but I do have here my wonderful guest, my wonderful girlfriend, Hailey. She's going to be the first one on the series. So look at that. Yay. So, I mean, to really get down into it, like just getting right, just rolling right into it. So, Seahawks and Huskies football is back. Huskies are in practice. There's no preseason with college football, as as most of you already know, and of course, as you know already.
I didn't know till now, but
yeah. So there's no preseason in there.
Why don't they do that?
I mean, probably for the same reason people don't want preseason to exist in the NFL.
Oh.
Like, they don't want their players getting injured, or I don't know. I really have no idea why there's no. I should look into it. That's a good question. But both seasons are underway because they've both reported to training camp, and it's go time. So I'm going to say this. If you know me or you follow me on Twitter, I promise you will know that I have been fucking raving about the Seahawks linebacker core day in and day out. Have I not?
I don't go on Twitter.
You freaking live with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know about how the linebacker core is. You know everything about it. Yes.
Okay. Well, you said Twitter, and I don't have I don't use Twitter anymore.
Twitter, or if you've seen me in the recent week.
I go on there if Bruno tweets, but he, doesn't tweet anymore. He, Instagrams. So, you know how much I go all over Twitter. Ooh.
Well, anywhom, so coming into it, we've got one of the deepest linebacker cores in the league. And the reason why I say that is, I'll really get into it why I say that, but I'm going to tell you, right now, what I think about some other ones, and definitely people are going to question, well, what about the Bears? What about Denver? And there's other linebacker cores out there that are really good. But what the three main focus ones are Chicago Bears with Khalil Mack, and obviously he's one of the best. Yeah, he's one of the best players in the league.
Game of Thrones.
One of the best players of the league. One of the best players, just on the defense in general. I would say the best defensive player in the league is Aaron Donald, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And he was the number one. Oh, yeah. He was the number one player on Top 100.
I just saw that.
Top 100 pissed me off. I'll tell you why. I mean, really? I'll really get into it. It pissed me off.
Isn't Tyler Lockett, wasn't he 99 or something?
Yes. Or he was in the 90s. I don't know if it was 99.
I thought
he may have been 99.
He was number 99. You got all triggered.
That's true. I was pissed. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
You're talking about it for ever.
Yeah, I was upset. I mean, I really don't understand how 99 players were better than Tyler Lockett when he had the best season of his career. There's no doubt that he had the best season. That was coming off of signing a major contract with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Usually players, when they sign big major contracts like that, tend to have a year where they kind of slip into a weird void.
A creepy year.
Yeah, a creepy year. So, anyway, back to the linebackers. Oh, I feel a burp coming.
Nice. Oh, that's so overhyped. So overhyped.
Anyway, getting into the linebacker core, you've got Khalil Mack, you've got, and then with him you have Danny Trevathan, Leonard Floyd, Aaron Lynch, Raquan Smith. That right there is that's a spooky linebacker core. That's gonna cause a lot of disruptions in the league. And honestly, those guys are all better pass rushers than their defensive line, which is even fucking crazier. And then you got Denver. Of course, you got, Mr. Von Miller, Mr. Superstar. That guy, I mean, being a superstar, that guy, every Sunday he delivers some awesome football. I love watching Denver play. I love watching Chicago play. It's just going
to be weird seeing, Joe Flacco in a freaking Broncos uniform. It's weird.
That was like the weirdest thing about the preseason. Like, seeing him in there in the preseason, I was like, ooh, God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And then, they got rid of Case Keenum too. Case Keenum went to the Redskins. And I think he went there.
Did he?
Yeah, I believe so. I'll double check. But anyway, I don't know too much about the Redskins. We're having Eric on the show next week. He's the guy that'll tell us who's on the Redskins or not. I know they released Mason Foster.
Oh yeah.
But that was a long time coming.
He's a veteran, right? Because I feel like I saw he got released, but then he just signed with somebody else.
He's a veteran for sure.
Yeah.
He played at UW too.
Oh really?
Yeah, during the Jake Locker era. So.
Ooh, rip.
Best player ever. Hey.
Tennessee Titans.
I fucking love Jake Locker. He is one of my favorite football players ever.
Yeah, you still have his number, right? That jersey you have that's super
crusty.
Yeah.
Yep. Number 10. So getting more in depth with Denver, you're looking at 5th round overall pick last year in the draft was Bradley Chubb, and then Brendan Marshall and Todd Davis. So those guys, they've got a solid run-stopping defense and a solid pass rush with Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. Those guys are super disruptive on that defensive line. It's really fun to watch those guys play. But, one of the things that Denver has that nobody's excited for is their offense.
Well, yeah.
Their offense is just not sexy, coming to think about it, I can't really think about who's really on their offense.
Didn't they trade all their wide receivers?
I know they got rid of Demaryius Thomas.
I feel like Emmanuel Sanders or whatever is gone too, but maybe.
I'm not sure. I'll look more into them.
Trade away a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, they have a solid linebacker core.
Who's their running back?
Let me see. I got to think on that one. Who is their fucking running back? I feel like they just got one too.
Because I feel like there was that one guy that I remember a couple years ago, but then he went off to, I think the Rams or something like that.
Are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
I don't know. I can picture him. Because I was like, oh wait, he's from the Broncos, and then I was like, I think he sucked during the Broncos.
Oh, you know who their running back is? It's Philip Lindsay.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
The little guy.
Yeah.
Out of Colorado.
Yeah.
Who's never left Colorado. I can't believe we didn't remember that. What the fuck?
Well, you couldn't remember Rashad Penny's first name, so.
Well, it's because I usually talk about these guys on a last name basis. I never really get into their first names. There's not really a point for talking about their first names. Mm-hmm. But obviously on here I'm gonna have to talk about their first names so people know what the fuck is going on. Yes, Philip Lindsay, the little guy out of Colorado. God.
I feel like it's just him and that's it, and Von Miller, and maybe Joe Flacco actually does well.
And it was pretty crazy seeing how well Philip Lindsay did.
Yeah.
I obviously am not a big fan of him just because he played at Colorado and he's in the Pac-12. And he also, when he played against the Huskies, I believe it was they were trying to prove their point. It was Colorado doesn't suck. Oh, yeah. Even though they totally did. They got their ass kicked by the Huskies. But Philip Lindsay would get the ball, and he would run the ball for 2 yards and get up and taunt.
Oh.
And it's
okay.
I think he had a touchdown in the game, and it was a good touchdown. But after the touchdown, he would get a 1 yard gain and flip the football. And it was I was like, dude, get a haircut. Seriously, that fucking pubic hair on your head. Anyway, I got pubes on my head too, but shit, that football helmet's not going to last. That thing is going to fly off one of these days. It's going to be bad. But so now, obviously now it's time to get sea hockey up in this bitch. But the most important thing about linebacker depth is They're, the people who they have with realistic injuries, people getting hurt, people tearing their ACLs and shit, it seems to be more common. It seems to be like an injury that's as far as I see, the number one injury. And, concussions are in there too, but I'd say tearing ACLs it seems to be like the new high ankle sprain, you know what I'm saying? And so you got to deal with that, and then you also have to deal with suspensions. You never know how these guys are going to act on the field. You never know if they're going to have something at home. Jarron Reed.
Yeah, Jarron Reed. Oops.
Defensive lineman for the Seahawks. It was a big year for him, and not only is it a big year for him because he's looking for a new contract. Yikes! That kind of publicity. That kind of publicity is not going to give you the money that you're looking for. He's a great player, but organizations do pay attention to what happens outside of the organization, outside of like the organization. They pay attention to their players. So, it's not the best situation for him, but I don't think it's the end of his career because he wasn't charged, but they have to serve the suspension because it was something that had to do with domestic violence. What's crazy is Tyreek Hill serving no suspension for his, but that was a whole...
Didn't you say they didn't, there was nothing to, show or anything?
Yeah, they investigated the shit out of it. Yeah. And, people are quick to judge these guys. So once they heard, he beats his kid, and, he beats his wife, nobody waits for the final word. Everybody just jumps the shark and says, well, Tyreek Hill's a piece of shit. He's a motherfucker, all that type of garbage. Mm-hmm. But then everybody has the chance to draft him on fantasy and they'll do it. So, everybody is quick to judge, but they investigated him. He came off clean. His wife was bullshitting a lot of that stuff. So, it happens to players. A lot of the time it happens to players.
And then gets injured.
He got injured, but it's nothing serious. But really? The one thing, he got carted off the field, but...
I thought they said he was out for a little bit.
Nah, he's probably not going to play preseason, but why would he? They're probably not even going to play Mahomes in the preseason. No, but looking at it, I think, a good separate episode is to be hoaxes when it comes to players. Not only football players, but, hockey players, any other player that really, NBA players, people who have been put in the situation of Ezekiel Elliott got put in that situation not too long ago. He's in Cabo right now, actually. Just chilling away.
Holding out, right?
Huh?
I think, isn't he holding out?
Yeah, fuck yeah. If I were Ezekiel Elliott, I'd hold out too. Yeah. Fucking Cowboys haven't done shit in how long? And finally, they have a running back that can actually help them. They just signed Dak Prescott to that major contract. Why didn't they sign Zeke first?
I don't like Dak.
It's because they're looking for a franchise quarterback. But in my humble opinion, Dak Prescott is not the guy you go for your franchise quarterback. Not yet. He delivered one season, and ever since then, he's... Yeah. And look, I'm not just angry because they beat the Seahawks in the playoffs, all right? I already gave my whole spew on that on the Beefy Boys, and there's multiple reasons why the Seahawks lost that, and they mainly lost it for themselves. Not saying that Dallas didn't have a good game, but look, when it comes to your running back, if you have a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, I would pay him over a player like Dak Prescott because Ezekiel Elliott delivers every single week. But the problem is it's just like Jarron Reed. He's got that domestic violence case hanging over his head every contract season. And, teams and organizations pay attention to it, and it hurts your contract negotiations. But if you can play football, you can fucking play football. And Ezekiel Elliott wasn't charged, but he still served a 6-game suspension.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe that's why they're not budging. They're like, the suspension you did,
Of course. And also, Jerry Reed's a greedy fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway. No, I have no problem with him. I don't know anything about the Cowboys to that extent. I'm just talking shit at that point. So let's talk Seahawks core, all right? You ready for this one?
Sure.
Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
All right. Do I even need to say any more? Oh, of course I do.
Dreamy.
Because Bobby Wagner is not only my favorite player in the league, he's my favorite football player ever. And met him twice. Once at training camp last week, and then once downtown at the World of Tanks event.
You met him last week?
Yeah, he was standing right like fucking 5 feet away from us.
No, I mean like
Him and KJ.
You weren't like talking to him though.
Well, I didn't get anything signed.
Yeah.
But I still stuck my hand out to shake his hand. I told you to follow me. You didn't want to follow me.
Really?
Judges in silence.
Really? Whatever. Well.
Then I had some dipshit fucking throw his football right in front of me and, will you sign this football?
I didn't know you shook Bobby's hand.
It was like shake his finger. That guy's fucking hand is huge compared to mine. It was like, you know, the little girl in Mighty Joe Young shaking Mighty Joe Young's hand. It was just like me grasping his finger. I'm sure, I was like, his fucking hands are huge. And Russell Wilson,
Yeah.
his hands are huge too. Let me get to this Bobby Wagner spiel.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I gotta take a deep breath for this one. The leader of the defense, standing in the ILB position, inside linebacker position. So he's the highest ranked inside linebacker in the league, and he's coming off of one of his best seasons. I would say probably the best season of his career because of his outrageous 115 consecutive tackles without missing a tackle streak, which is freaking awesome. He was also voted for first team All-Pro, and he went to a Pro Bowl. And I would say that 2016 was the season that really brought Bobby into the light of being the best inside linebacker in the league. I'd say he's better over Luke Kuechly ever since 2016. Now, I understand people want to argue that, and I know why people want to argue it, but I think that Bobby Wagner versus Luke Kuechly deserves to be its own episode, so I'm not going to get too far into that right now. But they really do need to have their own episode because it's a valid point. People think Luke Kuechly's better. People think Bobby Wagner's better.
Well, it's not. Well, I don't know what would be the point of that because I mean, obviously, you're going to stick with Bobby over Luke.
Well, yeah, but there's people out there that are going to stick with Luke over Bobby, even though the stats don't lie.
Yeah, it's not like you're gonna
Since
go over the dark side and go root for Luke instead of Bobby. You know.
I can still argue, and that's the point. We're going to have arguments.
Okay.
So in 2018, he had 1 interception for 98 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 fumble recovery, 1 sack, 11 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, 138 combined, and 84 solo tackles. And then his, as I just mentioned earlier, his 115 consecutive tackles without missing a tackle. So, obviously, and everybody else is about to know, I could talk about Bobby Wagner all day. So, with that being said, I'm going to leave him there, and I'm going to move on to the talent that's surrounding him on the field. KJ Wright, another Seahawk who just signed a contract extension. Michael Kendricks, who was just signed to an extension. And Michael Kendricks, let's not forget that he was also one of the best linebackers in the league all the way up until his insider trading thing that happened.
Yeah.
Philly cheesesteak. I got a nice Philly cheesesteak for you. So yeah, those of you who don't know it or who don't know, Michael Kendricks was on trial for I can't even remember what the hell it is.
Wasn't it just for insider trading or whatever? Or
insider trading, gambling.
Yeah.
It was illegal. Insider trading, no bueno. But he just signed an extension with the Seahawks, and I can't be happier because he is awesome. I love the way he plays. He's got a lot of speed, and you can also put him on the D-line, and he can rush the quarterback really well. Another player on the Seahawks that can do that is Barkevious Mingo. Obviously, coming in from the Colts, he was a big, huge help to the defense last season. And he was working also with Austin Calitro on covering for KJ Wright being injured half the season. So watching those two play in that position was really cool. And, Calitro's got a great story. And it was just awesome to see him playing in there, and then, moving Mingo to the line. And as we saw at training camp the other day, he was practicing with the D lineman. So I don't know if you remember that, but Barkevius Mingo was practicing with the D lineman over there with Puna.
I was too busy looking at Travis Homer, so.
We'll get to Homer. We'll get to the running backs. But, so, God, I've already said 5 big names.
And
Then you've got Shaquem Griffin, who's another big name. Oh. He's a linebacker as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then you have Jacob Martin. And then now, getting into the rookies, Ben Burr-Kirven, who was one of the best linebackers in college in college football last year. And I mean, obviously, okay, if you guys haven't seen this guy play, he's a Washington Husky. Go on YouTube and watch this guy play. He is all over the field, and the way he hits, it's really impressive. I tell you, I mean, really look him up. And then Cody Barton as well from Utah.
Oh yeah.
So the Pac-12 has got a pretty impressive defense. It seems like just about every team in the Pac-12 has got a pretty interesting defense, or at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 if you're the Huskies. Yeah. But anyway, the Pac-12 has great defenses, maybe not Oregon State, but I would say that the main schools, so, Oregon, Washington, Wazoo, Stanford, a lot of those teams took big hits in the draft, but the way that they build defenses is really fun. I would say that Stanford's more on the offensive side when it comes to their impressive players, and USC is also in there when it comes to, I would say USC for both offense and defense, but college football is not here yet, so we will not be discussing too much college football. So,
like the last person for that currently.
Yeah.
Saying all that, it's like, okay.
If you don't know, you better fucking ask somebody, because you're going to fucking learn this year, I promise you. So you got Cody Barton, Utah Utes, and Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson, coming out of TCU, he was good, but I don't think with Ben Burr-Kirven and Cody Barton showing big, impressive play at training camp is going to allow Juwan Johnson to get his spot on the roster. And I think the reason why I'm so excited for preseason, which, I was talking preseason to Joe last week on the show, and obviously Joe's one of those guys that's not interested in the preseason. I'll tell you this. I used to think that the preseason was dumb. I was like, well, this is dumb. Why not just extend the season? No. Teams have to cut players to their 53-man roster. And so with that being said, they have to have a way for these guys to go out there and play so that they can see what they're like in a game environment. If you cut out the preseason, how the hell are you supposed to cut a 90-person roster to 53 if you can't see how people play in a game setting? Obviously, preseason in Seattle is a little more hype than some other places because that stadium fills up and it gets fucking loud for preseason too.
It's always sold out.
It's always sold out during the preseason, so it is a real environment for young players. Those rookies have never played in a loud NFL stadium like CenturyLink. Sure, college stadiums are bigger and they hold more people, but when it comes to a professional environment, the whole game has changed. Plus, they have so many new rules that they have to learn and they have to go around and figure out that a lot of the times these guys don't make teams because they can't adapt to the new rules. 2 feet inbounds for a catch, none of that, none of that 1 foot bullshit unless you're Demaryius Thomas last season in week 1 against the Seahawks. Do you ever get a touchdown with 1 foot in the end zone? Unless you're Demaryius Thomas in week 1 against the Seahawks. Look it up. He had 1 foot in the fucking end zone and they called it a touchdown. I am still butthurt about it.
my God.
I'm over last season already. We're going into a new season. I'm going to stop crying about that one. So, we're talking, let's talk some training camp. You and I went to training camp.
Yes.
What did you see that really impressed you?
Travis Homer.
Okay.
Okay.
So what about I mean, I understand you're obsessed with Travis Homer, and trust me, he looked really good.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
He looked really good. He had great runs. He could also catch the football, and he was a solid blocker. I thought he looked good.
Very good looking.
Yeah, you're obsessed with his looks. And, but he looked really good.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch him. What about Russell and DK? The one thing that we were excited to go and see, we actually got to see it.
DK's super tall.
DK's fucking huge.
Paxton Lynch tall. It's like, Jesus Christ. But, yeah, DK did pretty good. Darbo sucks.
It's so crazy with Darbo. And I honestly thought that he was going to be a solid player in the NFL, but he hasn't done anything. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he, unfortunately, is going to do anything with the Seahawks. I'm not saying that he can't go somewhere else and play.
Yeah, but he's already done that, and then now is back, and he still just isn't doing well at all.
Yeah, the one thing we saw from him was dropping the ball almost every time Russell threw it to him. He couldn't catch deep. He couldn't catch in like a quick slant, and then he couldn't like do simple post routes and catch the football. And obviously Russell Wilson's not overthrowing him or throwing it in a weird direction because there's no pressure.
Well,
so Russell can just
overthrew it.
Well, yeah, Russell overthrows a football once, but that was on like a super deep route. And so yeah, I mean obviously he can do it, but in a slant route, you're not going to overthrow your receiver when there's no pressure going towards you. It's just not going to happen. Not for an NFL quarterback. Mm-hmm. So, Darbo's not making the roster. No. He's not going to make the roster. He'll play in the preseason.
I thought he was supposed to do so well. I feel like they talked so high of him, and now I was just like, eh.
Well, he was having a really good mini camp. And he was looking good in practice.
I feel like the first year he was here, he was, decent. I feel like he did a lot, but...
No. No, he didn't. He didn't do a lot.
He, played a lot.
He has not done...
He, got, a whole ton of catches, when Russell threw it down and, got a couple of touchdowns, but...
I remember one play from him, and that was first down against the 49ers. So... I think that was all I can remember from Darbo. But I remember him dropping the football too. So I think the one thing he's got to do is just learn on his hands and learn how to just really bring the football into his body, because he seems to catch it with his hands and it just gets knocked out when he hits the ground or gets knocked out easily by defenders. That's what I've seen from him. He's got to be able to really hold it into his body. Otherwise, he's just not going to hold on to it. So, yeah, Darbo. I don't think Darbo's going to make the roster. Yeah. So now, you were talking Travis Homer. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the other running backs. Let's talk about how CJ Prosise is still on the roster. I find it kind of weird that the Seahawks haven't moved on from him. They moved on from Rawls, and they somehow kept Prosise but got rid of Alex Collins. Bad move. Fuck. Just so many bad moves in the recent years. But
he's doing well though, isn't he?
Prosise?
No, I meant Collins with the
Collins
Ravens,
is doing good. Yeah. He's their number one. So I mean Collins is really good. It was, and at least we went to a game when he was still on the Seahawks and he scored his first NFL touchdown in that game against the Falcons.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
that was the one that Earl Thomas knocked the ball out of Julio Jones's hands in the last throw of the game of the game for the Falcons.
But I thought Christine Michael had it most of the time.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
But Collins scored his first touchdown of his career in that game. Oh. That's why Russell gave him the football. Oh. Mm-hmm. And so he was fun to watch. He was a good player. I mean, that year was not a good year for running backs here in Seattle because our O-line was a little bit on the spooky side. And, when it comes to the bad O-line, you get Russell Wilson, who's been able to work with that bad O-line. A lot of these running backs that they bring in just can't do it. But I don't think Prosise is going to make the team.
And so he doesn't.
So I think that the three running backs that the Seahawks are going to really roll with is going to be Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, and Travis Homer, even though Bo Scarborough is still out there playing. I don't know if he's going to be as explosive as they want him to be, but we're going to see this on Thursday in the preseason game. They're going to run all those guys except for Penny and they'll probably run Penny and Carson 1 or 2 drives, but they're, those two are going to share that running back 1 and 2 spot.
Oh. Isn't there a McKissick too?
But McKissick is technically a running back, but they played him at wide receiver all practice, and he was practicing with the wide receivers.
Ooh,
he wasn't practicing with the... they've used him as a wide receiver before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's a passing down back, which is good. But I think to keep him on the team, they're probably going to move him to wide receiver. He was running slant routes with John Ursua, Hawaiian native John Ursua. Yeah. So him and John Ursua were running those slant routes, which I think that John Ursua is going to be an awesome.
I just think he looks like Jafar from Aladdin. He looks exactly like.
I think that he's going to be an awesome slot receiver. And if he doesn't make the team, I hope he doesn't get discouraged because I think he's going to find somewhere to be an awesome slant receiver. But I do think he's going to make this final roster. There's other wide receivers that I don't think are going to make it. Darbo being one of them.
Yeah, he sucks.
And then I'm really hoping that David Moore gets back on his feet because he was having an incredible start to the season last year.
Sweaty guy. Yeah.
The first, I'd say the first 10 weeks, or not the first 10, but 10 weeks of the season, he was a consistent wide receiver. Mm-hmm. But after the game in Carolina, which was, one of his biggest games, after that game, the Seahawks just didn't seem to try to find him. It seemed like they were trying to just go for Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett.
I feel like he was quiet.
Which kind of, could lead to a downfall when it comes to Doug Baldwin and his injuries. Yeah. But I'm not saying that Doug Baldwin didn't have a good year. That's obviously not true. But he was injured this entire season.
Yeah.
And it just seems like they just kind of cut David Moore out of the plan all in general. And then they started running the football fucking every down, so teams watching them on film were easy to... it was easy for them to break down. Chris Carson against Dallas had 13 carries for 21 yards.
Ooh.
Yeah. But every time Russell Wilson was throwing the football downfield to Tyler Lockett was making big plays. Yeah. If you watch that game, Russell Wilson was controlling that through the air. But Schottenheimer and Pete have a system that they believed in, apparently, and it fucking lost them the playoff game. And I think it was a stupid system because running the football against that defensive line, which was great against the run, and then those linebackers that are great against the run, too much to get into. I got to get over last season. God. Jesus Christ. I got to get over that. So anyway, not only is it going to be fun to see the linebackers play in the preseason, there's a lot of depth in the backfield too, with the safeties and the cornerbacks, and Deshaun Shedd being re-signed.
Oh yeah,
and going straight to practice. It's awesome. I love seeing that Deshaun Shedd's back in town.
Yeah, that was quick.
And I think he's going to be a great player too. And I'm going to say that they'll probably move if Trey Flowers doesn't win that position on the outside, which I think he is, they're going to move either one of them into the nickel, and it's going to be a crazy backfield. You've got Tedrick Thompson, you've got Bradley McDougall, both awesome players, and now you have Ugo Amadi from Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome player as well. And I love the depth on the Seahawks this year. A lot more than I have in the last 5 years. I love the depth of this team. And that's why I do say crazy shit on the Beefy Boys like they're going to go 13-3.
Yeah.
I laugh at myself sometimes, but it's true. I did say that, and I'm going to hold them to it. I've got high expectations for the Seahawks team. So when they go 3-and-out on the first drive of the opening game, I will be upset.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's usually what happens.
I kind of have a feeling they're going to, like, go back.
Go back? Oh, you mean the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Well, fuck yeah, they're gonna win.
This week's podcast brought to you by the Beefy Bois, 3 cool dudes hanging out talking about music, video games, and sports, and anything else that hits our fancy.
Yeah, check them out at www.beefyboys.com or on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Yeah. If you love their logo, you can buy their merch, www.cafepress.com/beefyboysmerch1.
And oh, baby, you know you're going to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Find us on Twitter at Beefy_Boys, and you can find us on Instagram at official Beefy Boys, because it is official. Make us blue check marked, keep following us, and you can find us on Facebook at the Beefy Boys. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Beefy. A good podcast requires a good beer. So that's why I always go to my go-to, Keystone Light. If I'm going to the store, I don't want to buy a 12-pack. I want to go for a legit 15-pack. When I go to a party, I don't take Rainier. I take Keystone Light. And you know what? It tastes so good, I'm going to have it right now. Cheers, folks. Yeah, there's a burp coming in. That's good.
I kind of have a feeling. I don't know why.
You can hear me drinking this crispy Miller High Life. One of my favorite beers.
Montucky's are better.
Oh my god, the burps in these are rancid. So we're going to get into football snacks and football beer maybe around the time that the season starts.
Well, maybe pre.
Because preseason I'm not going to go all out and have a big chicken wing mukbang and watch the, It's like, no, it's just, it's just regular.
The chicken rings, that was good.
God damn.
It sounds so good right now.
Yeah, the chicken ring is good.
Yeah.
I will give the 411 on that on a different episode, but that's good.
That's super good.
So, are you excited for this QB competition on the Seahawks?
No.
with
Geno
Smith and Paxton Lynch.
No.
All we could see from practice was them throwing the ball over the receiver's head and then throwing it out of bounds as fast as possible.
I feel like Paxton Lynch did a lot better than Geno. That was brutal.
Geno was having a bad day.
Him. That was brutal.
And then Geno Smith, frequent listener, you saw our football, you didn't even sign it.
Yeah,
I wasn't even holding it.
Me. I was like, oh, cool.
He didn't even sign the little kid's hat that was right next to us.
Oh, the one that Russell Wilson signed? Oh.
Fucking Geno Smith.
What an a-hole.
Keep running 3-yard scrambles. I'm not salty about it.
I hope he gets cut.
All right. We mentioned this earlier. We talked the top 100 players.
Oh, yeah.
Donald was number 1.
Numero uno.
Number 2. Number 2 was Drew Brees.
Wow. Okay,
and number 3 was Patrick Mahomes, I believe. I think. I mean, I'm not really surprised, but...
Really?
Oh, hell yeah. He had a great season.
Yeah, but to be like...
And he is the MVP.
Oh, but I feel like 3's like... I don't know. I feel like 3's a little... Just like a hair high for him, like currently.
Alvin Kamara at number 14. Todd Gurley at number 5. Yeah, so I do believe it was...
Well, no, it's Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack's number 3?
Yeah, he's number 3.
Okay, well, yeah, I think
I
he
was
had a
about
better.
to say, I was like,
I think he was a more impressive player, but I mean, that's not
So-
taking anything away from Mahomes at all. Mahomes is fucking was nuts. He was
oh, that was weird.
what?
Oh, never mind. I was looking at I'm on the NFL thing now, and it said that Drew Brees was number 2, but then I scrolled down and then it said Antonio Brown was number 2, and I was like,
No,
wait, what?
different list.
Yeah, so Brees is 2, Khalil's 3. Oh, okay, never mind. I just oops. Gurley's 5, Tom Brady's 6.
Okay, I believe
Wow.
that. I believe that. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is number 4. Todd Gurley's number 5, and Julio Jones is number 9. Julio Jones is one of the most impressive players to watch. He truly is awesome.
Bobby Wagner's 15.
Yeah, don't even get me started with that. I don't even want to talk about it.
lame.
Anyway,
Russell Wilson's 25.
so here, now that you said that,
What the hell?
you said Russell Wilson's number 25. You know, how crazy is that? So he's number 25. I mean, it's not bad. Obviously, it's not bad.
I'm a little surprised that Mahomes is over Brady. Just like a hair surprise.
He had a way better season than Brady.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Plus, he won the MVP.
in general wise, like,
Mahomes was without a doubt the best quarterback. And, Drew Brees.
yeah,
Drew
I
Brees
get
was better
Drew
than him,
Brees.
but
I feel like Brady's. I mean, obviously Brady's like a go, but I'm not gonna. I mean, obviously I hate Brady, but
yeah. So here's
like
one for you.
weird. Huh?
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, where is he?
He's voted better than Russell Wilson and
What?
Mr. Can't Pull Out of a Driveway, Phillip Rivers.
Where is
Can you fucking believe
He's
that?
number 8. Why is he number 8? Are you kidding me? What the hell?
I don't know what it is about Aaron
how-
Rodgers that somehow
Okay, I'm sorry. How is he ranked even higher than like Michael Thomas too? Like,
I don't understand
kidding
it.
me?
He was not better than. I mean, obviously it's a different play style, but
Saquon Barkley was like, Jesus Christ,
You guys.
Almighty.
Aaron Rodgers
Number
is
8.
not even close to the greatest quarterback in football right now. You're looking at Tom Brady, who's more successful. You're looking at Drew Brees, who's a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers needs to stop being hyped up. And, imagine having Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers on your team and having 2 Super Bowls to show for it. Yeah, it's the last 30 years.
I'm kind of really surprised Andrew Luck is at 20.
Oh, Andrew Luck was so good this year. Oh my God, Andrew Luck.
I mean,
I said it
better
last
than
year.
Russell Wilson?
Yes. Without a doubt. He had such a great bounce back year, and he really, really was impressive to watch. Because
God.
obviously at the beginning of last season, I was sort of doubting Andrew Luck, just mainly because of all of his injuries and then his history with injuries.
Oh my God.
I wasn't so sold on the idea of him being that good. But then he came out and he was really on a roll. He had a great season.
Didn't Melvin Gordon do pretty well too?
Yeah, Melvin Gordon was good.
He is number 34. I feel like he did like extremely good.
I feel like there's
especially in fantasy too.
There's 33 players that were better than Melvin Gordon.
I feel like he was like up there though. Like
Melvin? Can you imagine having a team with 2 Melvins?
no.
Melvin Ingram and Melvin Gordon? Well, now that Melvin Gordon's agent requested a trade, we won't be seeing that.
Matt Ryan's at 69.
Nice. He was probably proud of that.
Kirk Cousins 78. Cam Newton 87. Carson Wentz is at 96.
Well, yeah, he was hurt.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, Tyler Lockett's 98.
let's talk about Aaron Rodgers being better than Russell Wilson and Phillip Rivers
That
real quick.
is horrible.
Let's talk about that.
And he's better than Ezekiel Elliott. Wait, 2, yeah. Oh, what the hell? Okay.
So check this out.
And Von Miller and DeAndre Hopkins.
Aaron Rodgers,
Alvin Kamara.
his season was...
Tyreek Hill.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little triggered. He's number 8. That's some bull.
Well, that's what I'm getting into. So check this out. Mm-hmm. So he played 16 games. His completion percentage was 62.3. His yards were 4,442. His yards per average were 7.4, and he had 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So people are going to see that stat. 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Wow, he's so great. He doesn't throw any interceptions. Look at his incomplete passes in a game and in a season. It's outrageous. The guy throws way out of bounds so that nobody can pick the ball off, or he throws at the floor, which, yeah, it's a good move and it stops the interception, but you're not getting anything about throwing the football out of bounds or on the floor. So anyway, there's Aaron Rodgers. So now we're looking at Russell Wilson, who, by the way, I don't think had a better season than Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers was the better quarterback out of all these three. Out of these three, Phillip Rivers was a better quarterback. Trust me. So Russell Wilson, 16 games, 65.6 percentage rating on his completion rating, 3,448 yards, which, yeah, it's less than Aaron Rodgers. His yards per average were 8.1, and then his touchdowns was 35. He threw 7 interceptions. 35 to 7 interceptions is that
sounds really good.
Fucking kidding me? That's super good.
Really? 7 interceptions? That's it?
7 interceptions.
Wow.
And 35 touchdowns.
Wow.
And so Phillip Rivers, 68.3 completion percentage, 16 games, 4,308 yards, 8.5 yards per average, 32 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions.
Yeah, there we go.
Phillip Rivers balled out. And Phillip Rivers, I'm glad to see him that high on the top 100. I think he had a better year than Russell Wilson. And I think, you know what? I'll take that back. I think Russell Wilson's the better out of these three, just because Phillip Rivers doesn't run the football. But Russell Wilson didn't get as deep in the playoffs as Phillip Rivers did. And Aaron Rodgers didn't even go to the fucking playoffs. So,
oh, yeah. Oh
yeah, it's been 2 years. It's been 2 years.
Playoffs.
2-year drought for Green Bay. But they're somehow always one of the top-rated teams at the beginning of the year. And now it's happening all over again. Oh, my God. We're looking at these Green Bay Packers, and they're looking good. Look. Aaron Rodgers is going to go out. He's going to fucking hurt something or whatever. And then they're going to say, well, they didn't make it because Aaron Rodgers was hurt. No, I've heard it before. Don't really care. And yeah, Aaron Rodgers, not to say that he hasn't done impressive things. He is a great quarterback, all right? So cool your fucking horses, those listening. I just don't think that he should be as overrated as he really is. He's extremely, extremely overrated. I'd say his number one talent is getting false starts. So rushing up to the line when people are substituting and hiking the ball and getting that free play. That is Aaron Rodgers' number one skill on the field, is rushing the players. And it's a good move. It's annoying. It's frustrating, but it's pretty good. But anyway, I think that's what we're going to cover for episode 1. And I think that we've had ourselves a pretty good episode 1 when it comes down to talking about, we're not getting into fantasy yet.
Ooh.
Fantasy is coming. And you know what? I might as well ask you, let's just say you have the number 1 pick.
Which I don't.
Who are you? Well, nobody knows. It's going to be randomized. But who would you have? Who would you pick?
I don't know.
There's a lot of big talent.
I don't know if I would. Well, obviously I wouldn't want to pick number 1, but I don't know.
Big Juicy.
Who?
Big Juicy. It's going to be interesting.
Big Juicy.
But ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I'm Christian from the Beefy Boys, and I am joined here with my lovely girlfriend, Hailey.
Yeah.
And we are out of here, folks. Thank you for stopping into the sports bar. We'll see you next week.